You can take over next week. 8:07. Imagine being homeless and you're going to sleep for the night. What do you do with all your possessions?
Maybe you try to hide them or keep them safe by holding them as you sleep.
Well, Southend could become the first place in Britain to provide lockers for the homeless.
Quilla Hawkins has come up with the idea after seeing something similar abroad. He joins us in the studio. Morning to you, Quilla.
Hello,
thank you for coming in. Yes, thank you for coming in. Tell us a little bit about how this idea has come about, lockers for homeless people.
Yeah, it all began back end of last year. I got talking to a homeless chap that called Alan. Had always in the town, playing his guitar, a really joyful kind of guy. And I stopped and had a chat with him about the fact that he didn't have his guitar with him late at night, and he told me that it'd been stolen, not just once but twice. And I kind of vowed to Alan that I'd look into this. I'd actually investigate what could be done. So I did a lot of research. I ended up going on the internet, found there was some really good projects all around the world. One in Chicago, which wasn't quite right for us because they have lockers on the back of trucks, 2 points in the day, maybe 12 midday and 8 p.m. They'd meet the homeless and they'd have lockers on the back of a truck. And then I came across Duarte Pavia in Portugal, an organisation called ACA. Now, ACA started through Duarte, and he's an architect, just a normal, general kind of guy, and he saw a massive problem in Portugal, and Lisbon in particular. And he came up and designed these lockers. Now, the lockers are quite large, about 2 metres high, and it allows people to put in clothes, belongings, guitars, anything where there is a risk of them getting stolen. The project has gone from strength to strength. They've had, since the project started, they've had 42 people they've taken from street into accommodation, into jobs.
Who are you to take on this action after just a conversation with a homeless person? What was it about that conversation that sort of said, well, I'm going to, I'm not a counsellor or anything like that, I'm going to take it under my wing? Why?
It was just Alan inspired me to do something about it. It felt wrong. It felt wrong that he had something stolen from him. He had nothing, and we have it throughout the whole of society. That things get stolen, but you never think about a homeless person who's got nothing. So it was my mission to do it, and the great things about the lockers are that it's not just to give somebody a locker and then they just keep the locker. It's transitional. So the idea is that they have it for 6 months to 12 months. It's not permanent. The lockers are permanent, but many people will get to use them. So the idea is, I wrote a white paper on it about how we could create almost a support network for these people. 6 to 12 people, we take them on. I call it a project. They are people, but we treat them as a project. So we say, okay, the local homeless charities, HARP. I spoke to Stephen this week, and he has given me lots of ideas. Lots of homeless charities I've been speaking to this week have been really encouraging and giving me lots of ideas. But the idea is that we try and get the university involved. We try and get the police involved. We get lots of educational organisations
Would
involved.
you run it, or would it be something now that you're looking? So you've got this idea, great idea. You've seen it working overseas. How do you sort of see that plan going forward? Do you need the council to kind of take charge of that for you, or would you kind of do the project with the council's support?
Well, I'd like to see a whole community getting involved, because I think that a lot of the time there's us and them with homeless people. People might have a perceived view of a homeless person. They're a criminal, they're alcoholic, they're a druggie, I don't want to go near them, they're dirty. The idea is if we can work with the community, the council, all these organisations, I'll get involved, volunteers, and we can perhaps galvanise and support these people.
How does having a locker get a homeless person into work, as it did, as you were saying, in Portugal? How does that work?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I'll also say about the lockers. The lockers have a postcode. They have a letterbox.
Right.
Okay, which is brilliant because they're on the grid. They can actually register for the NHS. They can register for dental surgery or whatever. They can actually, correspond with organisations and people. The other thing is that if we have enough organisations involved, then what they've found in Portugal is that if these people have got to want to get off the street. They've got to take some responsibility. So it's about actually bringing all these organisations together to help them, have a nice set of clothes in the lockers, so that's their one set of clothes. So they want to go for an interview, or if they want to do a night class at the university, to then meet other people, to have another social circle. Because I think a lot of homeless people don't have other social circles. They just have their peers on the streets, and it's difficult for them to meet new people, because often new people don't want to approach them. So there's, this is a small cog in a big machine, that I just came up with the help of Portugal. Hopefully it will work. Hopefully it will be embraced. It'll be interesting to see what listeners think, and also, this is still in its infancy. It's not something that it's definitely rubber stamped that's going to happen. Because obviously we need to figure out how we're going to pay for it.
Well, that's what
I was just going to ask.
We were both going to ask.
Well, that's why I'm actually here.
It all boils
BBC
down
Essex,
to
could you
money,
pay?
doesn't it? So, as with everything, it all boils down to money, really.
Yeah.
How are these lockers going to be paid for?
Well, in Lisbon, 60% of the cost is covered by the local council. The rest is either crowdfunded, or they've got certain schemes involved where you can, for example, donate a certain amount of money and you can deliver a key to a homeless person. The key is really important as well. I'll come back to the cost, but the key is really important because what we're trying to do is empower people. So this is your key. You have to look after this key. Not only do you have to look after the key, you have to look after the locker. You have to make sure it's clean, inside and out. Not allowed to have drugs or alcohol inside the lockers. Not that the project would open the lockers up and check. It's a trust thing. So it's empowerment. It's actually getting people to take responsibility for themselves, and with the help of us and the organisation, it will then progress. Funding. Nowadays, it's much easier to get these kind of projects off the ground. Certainly public support. And also other organisations like the police need to be involved in this, the council, other homeless organisations. So crowdfunding is a key thing nowadays, I think.
I think the council we were hoping to get someone from the council on to talk about this, but we haven't unfortunately been able to get through. But they were quite, from what I sort of read beforehand, the council seemed quite on board with this idea.
Well, what happened was I've been wanting to get this project off the ground quicker. With the family and work commitments, it's been hard. But the idea is, once I did the white paper, I proposed it to the council. There was some interest from the council. Then we got some newspaper interest. Then you guys got in touch. So it's kind of snowballed from there. Whether it happens in Southend, I don't know. But I'm confident that it will happen somewhere.
Well, keep us posted.
Well, Quilla, thank you very much. Named after a film, before you ask.
Yeah, we had that conversation
Quilla,
earlier.
But it's not...
Good film.
Not a good film, he says, but a lovely name. So thank you for coming in, Quilla. Keep us posted.
Thanks.
BBC Essex Travel.
It is Sonia and Ben on BBC